The magical crown in the forest. Once upon a time, there was a great kingdom filled with lush green trees, sparkling blue lakes, and beautiful waterfalls cascading from high cliffs. In this kingdom lived a princess named Elara, who sparkled with a loving heart and a passion for adventure. One day, while turning the dusty pages of an old book in the palace library, she read about the legend of a magical crown hidden in a secret cave deep within the forest. This crown would grant its owner endless happiness and extraordinary powers, but finding it was a task only the bravest of hearts could accomplish. Elara's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I must find this crown," she thought eagerly. But soon, doubt crept into her heart. "What if I fail?" she murmured to herself, and the shadow of fear appeared deep within her. Yet her curiosity overcame her fears. She began studying the old and new maps in the library, the dust swirling around her like a symbol of her determination. She worked for hours to find the location of the cave described in the legend and finally discovered a single place that matched the description. She memorized the paths she would take to reach it, fueling her excitement and courage with her curiosity. The next morning, she prepared early. She packed food, water, and the small axe. But she didn't want to embark on this challenging journey alone. As she wandered through the palace garden, she spotted a sweet but timid panda named Piko. "Hello, Piko. I'm going to find a crown hidden deep in the forest. Would you like to come with me?" she asked. Piko stepped back a bit anxiously. "But the forest can be very dangerous," he said with sad eyes. Elara encouraged him, saying, "Don't be scared, Piko. If we go together, we can achieve anything." Taking a deep breath, Piko tried to overcome his fears. It was hard, but he felt a little safer with the princess by his side. "Okay," he said, "I'll come with you. But let's be careful, all right?" The two of them set off together. As they entered the forest, the trees grew thicker, their giant branches blocking the sky. The sunlight barely reached them. There was a soft dimness filtering through the branches. Elara turned her eyes to the colorful flowers around them. "Look, Piko. How beautiful these flowers are," she said, trying to cheer him up. But Piko's worried expression still lingered on his face. "What if there's a scary creature here?" he whispered. Elara smiled at Piko and said, "No creature can harm us, because we are together." Piko felt a bit braver from Elara's words, but still, fear lingered within him. After a while, they came to a large river. The water was flowing swiftly, and it looked difficult to cross. Piko retreated in fear. "We can't cross here. The water is too fast," he said. Elara thought for a moment. "Maybe we can jump across the stones. We just need to be careful." She took her first step and saw the stone was steady, looking at Piko with confidence. "We can do this, Piko," she said. Encouraged by Elara's bravery, Piko cautiously followed her onto the stones. At first, his feet trembled, but his trust in Elara gave him courage. When they both managed to cross the river, Piko smiled for the first time. "I think I can do this," he thought to himself. As they continued their journey, dark clouds began to gather in the sky. The wind started to blow a little harder, and the sounds of the forest grew more intense. Piko looked up at the sky and worriedly said, "I think it's going to rain." Suddenly, an owl hooted. Piko jumped and clung to Elara's arm. Elara was startled too, but tried to calm him down. "It's just an owl. There's nothing to be scared of," she said with a gentle smile. Her own words made her feel braver. Elara realized that with each step, she felt bolder. The wind suddenly picked up, the trees swayed, and the branches creaked. As Elara and Piko struggled to move forward, lightning flashed in the sky. Then, raindrops began to fall rapidly on them. What started as a light drizzle quickly turned into a downpour, soaking them both. The cold wind was now almost as strong as a storm, pushing them backward with every step. Elara, shielding her eyes from the rain with her arms, shouted to Piko. "Piko, we need to find shelter. We can't go on like this." Piko squinted his eyes and spotted an old hunter's cabin a little way ahead. Excitedly, he called out, "There's a cabin over there. Come on, Elara." Struggling against the storm and rain, they rushed to the old, seemingly abandoned cabin. As they pushed the wooden door open and stepped inside, the sound of the rain softened a little. The inside of the cabin was just as cold as outside, but they noticed a small fireplace. Next to the fireplace was a huge pile of firewood that had been gathered and stacked long ago. While Piko hurried to place the wood in the fireplace, Elara pulled a small matchbox from her bag. After a few attempts, the wood caught fire and a warm light filled the cabin. Now, they were safe and warm inside the cozy cabin. Piko, looking like a wet cotton ball due to the rain, shook himself off as he moved away from the fire to dry off near the door. Water droplets were splashing onto Elara. When she saw how many drops were flying off Piko, she burst into joyful laughter. Piko responded with a grin, inching closer to the fire and curling up on the floor to dry his fur. Elara, taking off her wet clothes and placing them near the fire, then pulled out her food from her backpack to share her bread and fruits with Piko. "We were so lucky to find this place in such a storm," she said with a slight smile. Piko, still a bit anxious, but happy, whispered, "I've never been caught in such a scary rain before." Elara looked at him reassuringly. "But we did it, Piko. I know now that we can overcome any challenges by supporting each other." As they listened to the crackling of the fire, the cabin slowly darkened. The sunlight coming through the window by the door completely disappeared. They realized that the sun had set and night had begun, hidden by clouds and the storm. Inside the cabin, only the light from the fire remained. Outside, the wind continued to howl, and the rain hit the roof harshly. Elara felt safe in the warmth of the cabin and slowly turned to Piko. "This journey is teaching me courage, Piko. I used to have fears, but being with you makes me realize that I can face anything." Piko looked back at Elara and smiled. "I'm not as scared anymore. I think being with you gives me courage," he said shyly. "Besides, while I warm my tummy by the fire, the storm outside can't ruin my mood," he added. They both laughed heartily at Piko's words. Then, they sat in silence for a while, listening to the sounds of the storm outside. The howling wind and the sound of raindrops reminded them of nature's power. but the warmth inside the cabin and their friendship made them feel safe. They had filled their bellies, had more food left, a pile of firewood that would last them a few days, and a fire keeping the cabin cozy. Everything was just fine. Overcome by the warmth of the fire and her tiredness, Elara slowly closed her eyes. Piko, curled up beside her, also began to doze off. In the soft light of the fire, both of them fell into a peaceful sleep. When morning came, sunlight filtered through the small window of the cabin. The rain and storm had completely subsided, and the forest was calm and quiet. Elara yawned as she woke up. The fire was starting to die down, but the warmth from the night still lingered in the cabin. Piko rubbed his eyes and sat up. "Let's have breakfast and continue on our way," Elara said with a smile. They quickly had a snack and eagerly set off again, ready for the adventures the new day would bring. Finally, when they reached the deepest corner of the forest, they saw sparkling lights at the entrance of the cave. Elara's heart raced with excitement. "This is it," she said, holding her breath. But there were large, thorny bushes blocking the cave's entrance. Elara felt a little uneasy because the thorns were in her way. Surprisingly, Piko stepped forward. "Maybe we can cut these thorns with an axe," he said bravely. Elara smiled in astonishment, realizing how much Piko had changed. "Yes, you're absolutely right, Piko. Let's try together," she said, and they took turns cutting through the bushes with the axe. When one got tired, the other would take over, working with determination. Finally, they managed to clear the thicket and entered the cave with great excitement. As they stepped inside, they were greeted by a magical atmosphere. Soft light streamed from above, reaching deep into the cave and illuminating the bright stones on the walls. Each step echoed lightly, adding to the cave's enchanting air. In the center, they saw a crown that sparkled like a crystal, glowing with a bright light. It seemed as if it radiated light on its own. Delicate golden filigree surrounded a circle filled with colorful gemstones. The sky blue stone at the center of the crown was almost as beautiful and mesmerizing as the sky itself. Elara and Piko approached the crown in awe. With her heart racing, Elara reached out and carefully placed it on her head. As soon as she wore the crown, a deep sense of peace and confidence blossomed within her. It felt as though her fears had dissolved like mist, replaced by brave determination. She lifted her head and smiled, her eyes sparkling. "This journey has taught me how important courage is," she said, her voice filled with pride. Piko, looking at Elara, was inspired by her strong stance. He too felt a wave of confidence rise within him. His fears faded away, replaced by a strong belief that he could achieve anything with his friend by his side. He gently held Elara's hand and smiled, saying, "I'm not afraid anymore. I've learned that I can do anything with you." They quietly gazed at the cave's magical environment, ready to embark on new adventures, fueled by the courage the crown had given them. With the magical crown on her head and her brave friend Piko by her side, Elara set out toward the kingdom as the afternoon sun shone brightly. Sunlight filtered through the trees, glimmering on the crown and creating a captivating sparkle around her. Everyone they passed noticed the crown on Elara's head and paused in amazement. Farmers put down their work, and children stopped playing, watching Elara in awe. Everyone knew that the sparkle came from the magical crown, spoken of only in legends throughout the kingdom. As Elara and Piko walked, people along the road began whispering about this legendary journey. She found that crown. She bravely ventured deep into the forest, they murmured in admiration. On Elara's smiling face shone a proud courage, and she walked confidently beside her friend Piko. No longer just a princess, she had become a hero who turned her kingdom's legends into reality. As they approached the kingdom, the streets of the town were filled with people. Everyone made way for Elara and Piko, their eyes sparkling with admiration. An elderly man placed his hand on his heart and bowed respectfully to Elara. Others followed suit, bowing with the same respect. Elara felt a warmth inside her. Winning the love and respect of her people was as important as finding the crown. When Elara reached her mother, whose eyes were filled with tears, and her father, the king, who watched her with pride, she gently bowed her head in greeting. The king embraced her proudly, saying, "You've become an example to the entire kingdom with your courage and love." Piko was also met with great applause. The people now knew him not as a timid panda, but as a brave friend. And so, Elara and Piko returned home not only as bearers of a magical crown, but as owners of friendship and courage etched in their hearts. With this adventure, a new legend was born in the kingdom. Everyone learned that those who set out with courage would always succeed, and that even the most unexpected heroes could change the world. And perhaps one day, when you hear the soft pitter-patter of rain against your window, or feel the deep silence after a lightning flash lights up the night, you might sense that Elara and Piko are off on a new adventure. With the courage of their friendship, you can hear their laughter echoing in the wind as they move forward side by side. Who knows, maybe in an unknown corner of the kingdom, another magical treasure awaits them, filled with secrets waiting to be discovered, a new story never told, longing to be heard.